It's the Go Mike podcast where the mic is go, and this is a podcast. I'm your host, Mark Paul, and today we have Khiara Bridges. Khiara Bridges, she is a law professor, and she was invited to testify at the Senate hearing in regards to Roe versus Wade being overturned. Now, a lot of people are confused about the overturning of Roe versus Wade. A lot of people believe that overturning Roe versus Wade means that abortions are banned totally, and that is not true. That is not true. When the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, it just gave the states the ability to make up their own rule and not be forced to allow something. So this is going to be a reaction to an exchange between Khiara Bridges and I forget what the guy named Hawley. I forget what his first name is, but it's real interesting. Let's get into it. Boom. There's the video. There's the Senate floor. Now let's get to this reaction.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy.
Okay, so I'm guessing that, this is just a clip. So I'm guessing that they had a whole conversation, a whole exchange leading up to this one. And I believe his name is Senator Hawley. He is asking Khiara clarification on the term she keeps using. Instead of saying women, she keeps saying people with the capacity to get pregnant. And it just seems like it just complicates things even more. So let's get into the exchange.
Would that be women?
Well, let's rewind it a little bit.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy.
Okay, look at this crazy looking young lady. Don't she look like she's off her rocker? I don't care how much education you get, how much of the ability to retain information and test good. I don't care how much of that you got. I don't believe that just because you have a college degree, that don't make you smart. I know plenty of people that are college graduates and graduated with good grades that are complete imbeciles. So I have never been a believer of just because you went to college and you were able to have the discipline to sit in those classes for odd years and retain this much information. I just don't think that make you smart. Because like I said, I know plenty of people who are college graduates that are total idiots. But let's continue.
There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary
Let's rewind
people.
Let's rewind it a little bit.
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
Okay, notice those four groups of people that she pointed out. She pointed out trans men, which are biological women turning into men. She pointed out non-binary people. That's people that just haven't chose what the hell they want to call themselves. but 9 times out of 10, they are still women. So all of those groups that she mentioned, if you just look at the biological makeup of these people, they are women. So I don't understand why she is making it so complicated by just saying people with the capacity to get pregnant. That's women. Women. I don't care if you identify with whatever you identify with. Biologically, you're still a woman. And a lot of times when people say man or woman, they are not talking about what people think and feel inside their head. They are talking about biological man, biological women, having the biological makeup of a man, like a dick, a penis, some testicles, and then a biological makeup of a woman, a vagina, ovaries, or whatever women have that men don't have. See, that's the difference. And then we got people like this who makes it their business to just complicate everything about this. Like, how could we ever get past the obstacle if we are sitting up throwing monkey wrenches in the facts and just messing everything up? Those 4 groups she mentioned are biological women. Let's rewind it back a little bit.
Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy.
Many cis women have the capacity for pregnant, and there's many cis women who do not have the capacity to get pregnant. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say this. The whole cis male, cis female, me personally, as a male, a straight male, I take offense to the label cis when you are describing me. I am not a cis male. I believe that term is offensive. I am a male. There's only male and there's female. There's no different versions of male and female. They're only male and there's only female. I don't know why people are trying to continue to impose this idea that there are, I believe they say that there's like 36 different genders. And it's like, come on. Who's going to keep up with this? Who's really going to keep up with this? And mainly the people that pushes this nonsense are Democrats. Democrats continue to push this nonsense about sex and gender, and all it does is just confuses people. No other group other than those Democrats are focused on that type of stuff, and I don't understand why. Why can't we just go back to the old days and keep it simple? Keep it simple. Male, female. Biological male, biological female. Let's stop trying to venture outside of that, because naturally there's only biological males and biological females. All right, we got our little, the people that's born with 2, whatever. Those are oddball. But for the most part, when people say male or female, woman or man, they believe that they are talking about biologically. But let's continue.
Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
Now you hear that, trans men that are capable of pregnancy and non-binders that are capable capable of pregnancy. But when you just look at just everything, just step back and just look at it, she is talking about a biological woman. So why in her head she believes that she has to go this extra avenue to refer to every different group that is, when it boils down, they are women? Why you got to go through all those avenues when you just need to keep it simple for the people that's listening, the people that is not in your, don't have time to try to figure out what you're actually talking about. But let's continue.
This isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups.
She said we can recognize that it impacts women as well as other groups. And like I said, that these groups that she is referring to are biological women. So at the end of the day, she is talking about women. So let's continue.
Are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
I'm going to go off on a limb, and I'm going to say that this woman is either a lesbian, a feminist, or a nasty combination of the two. Because I doubt that there's a man out there that is going to date this. I doubt that. Matter of fact, let me not even say that, because niggas will fuck anything. But I doubt that she's currently in a relationship and somebody is dealing with this nonsense. Look at her. She have two nose rings in her nose. Why do you need two? You got one here and one here. Like, what the hell is this? You're a law professor, a lawyer, and you running around looking like this? I guess.
So, I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens.
Wait, how is his line of questioning transphobic? How is his line of questioning transphobic? And that's the problem that I have with a lot of this new age gender war. It's like, if you don't understand something, you're transphobic. If you're not interested in a certain subject when it comes to them, you're transphobic. My whole life, I always believed a phobia was the fear of. So when did a phobia, the fear of, turn into the dislike of or not liking? Like, when did that happen? I don't understand. When you say you got a fear of spiders, you have arachnophobia, right? Fear of heights, you have an acrophobia, right? Like, what's going on? When you have a fear of something, that's called a phobia. Not that you don't understand something that is too complicated anyway to understand. But nowadays, when you just not jumping on the bandwagon and supporting all of this trans and LG, all of this nonsense, if you're not a supporter of this nonsense, you're automatically transphobic or homophobic, and it's just not true. Some of us just don't got time for this nonsense. It seems like with gays and the whole LGBT, it seems like it's so many layers to their struggle. It's just like the average person, even if they want to care, they don't have the mental capacity to care, because once you take care of one issue within their circle, there's always something else, and we never ever get to the bottom of it. But let's continue. I did rewind it a little bit.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so
look how crazy she looks. She seems like a lunatic. See, I don't know her, but she seems like a lunatic. She seems like a lunatic. Like, she seems like she gets offended for nothing. Like, she just like causes scenes in public with random cashiers that probably just don't understand what she's talking or something. She just seems problematic just by her appearance. I don't know her, but she just seems so problematic just by her appearance. But let's go ahead.
Is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not
She said that him asking this question is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence. My biggest question is how, Sway? How, Sway? How does him asking for clarification on the terms that you use It's not terms that everybody use. You use this is the first time I've heard this term. Why is that transphobic? But maybe she'll answer that.
I see that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
Because of my line of questioning? So
Because-
we can't talk about it?
because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm
is
denying that trans
dangerous.
people exist by...
Okay, so when did he deny that trans people does not exist? At what point did he say that? She is using an oddball term, people with the capacity to get pregnant. What the fuck does that mean? To just a normal person. That means women, right? Because women are the only people that has the capacity to get pregnant. Capacity to get pregnant. And it's crazy how all of a sudden, if he wants some type of, anybody wants any type of clarification, we're supposed to automatically know. Or just go with the flow, right? With stuff we don't understand, right? But let's just continue.
Are you?
If you're
Are
talking
you?
about women
Are you?
having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can
So
get
you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to...
What type of crap is this? She say, do you believe that trans people can get pregnant? All right. We believe that the trans people who are biologically women, they can definitely get pregnant. Nobody's arguing that. Nobody's arguing that. If you are a biological woman, yes, you have the capacity to get pregnant naturally. Not going through all these surgeries and getting implant, a womb inside of you, getting like, no, that's not getting pregnant. That is not what we're talking about right here. So she just need to scratch that whole term, because at the end of the day, like I said, she is talking about biological women. So why confuse the listeners? But let's go.
Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you, or are they
Absolutely.
also treated like this, where
No,
they're
they're
told
allowed
that
to
they're
question.
opening up people to violence?
We have a good
by
time in my
questioning?
class. You should join.
I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot.
Now you hear this nonsense talking about he can learn a lot in her class. You can learn a lot in her class. I know you can learn a whole lot of nonsense in her class. So in the comment section, tell me, what do you think about this video? Can men get pregnant? And we're not talking about the trans men, the women that turn into men, of course, because they still have the biological makeup of a woman. Of course they can get pregnant. So if you want to be technical and let's go off on the limb and just say a trans man is just a man, yes, men can get pregnant. But that's only if they were originally a biological woman with the biological makeup of a woman. And I just really don't get why the confusion. But I do have another video before I go. This is Khiara Bridges again, at the same Senate hearing, but she is going to have an exchange with another person, and she is going to be left speechless. So let's pull up that video. There it is. Now let's get started. Let's see what this video has to offer us.
Ms. Professor Bridges, you, in your testimony, talked about the prevalence of abortion, the percentage of black babies that are aborted as opposed to non-black babies. I think you said 3 or 4 times more black babies than non-black babies are aborted.
You hear that there are 3 times more black babies being aborted than, I guess, white babies or other babies of other race. And that right there is scary. They are trying to make this a black issue. Somehow, I believe the Democrats have made this a black issue. And then when you really peel back the banana, you kind of wonder, why are they trying to make this a black issue when if we do kill the abortions, that there will be more black babies born? Like, what is, like, but let's go.
You also talk about systemic racism. Do you see any systemic racism associated with the prevalence of abortion for black babies as opposed?
That is a good question. Do you see any? Yeah, that is a great question, and I wonder how she's gonna answer this, and she's gonna try to defend abortions and use systemic racism. That is interesting how this is gonna play out. So let's continue.
Non-black babies?
Absolutely. The higher rates of unintended pregnancy that lead to higher abortion rates among black people is a result of structural racism, systemic racism. I understand systemic racism not to be boogeymen who are trying to dupe black people into abortion care. I understand structural racism to be the systems that have made it so that.
Wait, who is this guy in the middle right here? Do you see this guy? Do you see my cursor right here? Who is this guy right here playing with his stuff in the Senate hearing? We gotta find out who this guy is. This is a sicko. Let's rewind it back a little bit. This fool is literally playing with his stuff in the Senate hearing right in front of everybody as if he's not on camera.
Understand systemic racism not to be boogeymen who are trying to dupe black people.
Look at him. Look at him. What is
I
this?
understand structural racism to be the systems that
What are you
have made
doing,
it so
bruh?
that black people disproportionately bear the burdens.
What's
of poverty
going on,
in this country. The systems that have denied them the basics that they need in order to live humane lives, like food, clothing, shelter, health care.
So you believe
a system that responds with the criminal
you believe
legal
there
system.
ought to be more black babies aborted, is that right?
I believe that we ought to create the conditions under which people can lead lives that are filled with dignity and humanity.
And
that
to
means
your,
being
to
able
your way
to,
of thinking, that happens when more black babies are aborted.
I believe, I trust, I love black people with the capacity for pregnancy. I think they have agency, they have intelligence, they know what is best for themselves, and I would love to create the conditions under which they can live lives that are filled with dignity and humanity.
And do you think a baby that is delivered alive has value?
Here comes the cutting sword. Do you believe a baby that has not been born yet has value? That is a heavy question. Let's see how she answers that.
Yes.
Do you think that a baby that is not yet born has value?
I believe that a person with the capacity for pregnancy has value.
There go that term, a person with the capacity to get pregnant. And that's not even the question. He didn't even ask you that. I didn't even know what he asked you. He asked you, do you believe that babies that are born are let's see what he says, so I don't jack it up. Let's see what he say.
Do you think a baby that is delivered alive has value?
Do you think a baby that has been delivered alive has value? And she says yes.
Yes.
Do you think that a baby that is not yet born has value?
Do you think a baby that has not yet been born have value? That is the question. That is the question. But listen to how she answers it.
That a person with a capacity for pregnancy has value. They have intelligence. They have agency. They have
I'm talking about the baby.
And I'm talking about the person with the capacity for pregnancy.
You're not answering the question. I'm asking.
I'm answering a more interesting.
You see how these people do? You see how these Democrats do when they're backed into a corner? They'll try to wiggle themselves out and just change the subject altogether. And it's just like, we will never get anywhere with these types of ideology. These are the bumps in the road that keeps people from, going as fast as they want to go. People like her that just want to complicate things and make shit difficult. But let's go.
Has value. They have intelligence. They have agency. They have
I'm talking about
dignity.
the baby.
And I'm talking about the person with the capacity for
And
pregnancy.
you're not answering the question. I'm asking.
I'm answering a more interesting question to
You
me.
think that the baby that is
That's it. She said that she's answering a question that is more interesting to her. That lets you know right there that she is pushing a agenda rather than trying to address the public issues. And that's the problem with a lot of Democrats. They don't focus on the issue. They focus on their agenda and how they can use that issue to push their agenda. They're not worried about that issue. That issue could be in shambles and they don't care. As long as they can use it for fuel for their evil, whatever thoughts they have, as long as they can use that, they will. And I believe that is counterproductive. I believe that we will never get anywhere with these types of ideology. We need to get to a point where we are here, everyone is here, and we can communicate in a way where everybody can understand. All of this extra shit they keep throwing in the books, throwing in the mix, all it's doing is just complicating things. And I am mentally tired from this stuff. But I digress. It's the Gold Mike Podcast, where the mic is gold and this is a podcast. I'm your host, Mark Paul, and I'm out. Till next time.